Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reviews. Let's talk summer horror movies. So guys, given the time of year it is at the moment, I kind of wanted to go through some of my favourite movies to watch throughout the summer. Now guys, this is not a ranking, things will not be from 10 to 1. These are just different horror movies that I do think people should check out during the summertime, especially before it ends. First up is Friday the 13th. This one for me is a must watch every single summer. It's pretty much based at a summer camp. It has of course the iconic Jason Voorhees and some of the best kills of the 1980s. No matter what movie in the franchise you watch as well, the sequels, they are very similar to the original. For the most part, most of the sequels actually have Jason Voorhees, and each of them are based around Camp Crystal Lake. They're super fun movies to throw on, have some great practical effects and some great kills. As well as that, if you want a movie very similar to this, I would also recommend The Burning and Sleepaway Camp. Next on the list is I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is from the mid-90s and it's one of the few slasher movies we got of that period. The movie itself, it definitely has like a who's who of 90s stars at the time, as well as that has a great mystery to it and a great story and some of the best chase sequences in slasher films. I do really enjoy this one guys, as well as that the sequel to the movie I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is pretty much set at a holiday resort. It's a great movie to throw on over the summertime, even watching both back to back. Another one to throw on is Piranha, both the original and the remake, and for the most part you could even throw on the sequel to the remake too. I do prefer the original myself a little bit more. I just think it's a smarter movie. It is humour, it's over the top slapstick type humour. There's a lot of gore, there's a lot of bloody death and a lot of comedy. All of those movies guys, they are really enjoyable. They're kind of out there slightly, but they are campy, good horror fun. Piranha definitely did for piranhas what Jaws did for sharks. It's a fun movie, it's scary of course at times and has a couple of jump sequences, but mainly you come for the gore and the over the top humour. Another one I actually highly recommend is Summer of '84. This one a lot of people say is kind of similar to things like Stranger Things, but for me it just reminds me of older movies like The Goonies and Stand By Me. The movie centers around 4 kids who unfortunately find out one of their neighbours may actually be a serial killer. They kind of set out to find out, is this person a real life serial killer, and things take a very dark, dire turn. It's a really interesting movie guys, looking back at the 80s. It's a fun nostalgic movie for sure. It does kind of remind you of summer days with your friends when you were young, but at the same time there's a sinister turn in this movie where things get quite dark and quite terrifying in the last act of the film. I highly recommend this one guys. A lot of people haven't seen it, but over the last few years it is slowly becoming a cult classic. Next up is Fantasy Island. Now I actually only saw this one quite a few days ago. For me, it's not the greatest movie at all. It's not the best horror movie I've seen, but it's a fun summer flick for sure. It's not the worst movie in the world. It centers around a group of characters who go to a fantasy island where pretty much all of their fantasies can come true. I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was quite action packed. There's also a lot of twists and turns in this one and it looks stunning throughout the whole film. The cinematography is definitely the best part of this movie. You do get a summer holiday feel with it, but at the same time I like the story. Now again, some people didn't really enjoy this movie, but it's a good popcorn flick. It's a good one just to throw in the summer if you don't have too much to watch. Now Fantasy Island is of course a kind of reboot or remake of the original series from the 70s and early 80s. If you don't like the movie, if that's kind of not your thing, you can also go back and check out that TV series. Both are quite fun. Of course, a lot of people prefer the TV series just a little bit more, but if you want something different that isn't your typical slasher fare or your kind of monster movie, this is a good one to check out. I also recommend Turistas. Now when I saw this movie, I think in Europe it was actually called Paradise Lost. It's a movie that centers around a group of friends who are off the Brazilian coast. After a bus crash, they do get drugged and robbed and they kind of find themselves in some serious danger. They do kind of end up in this strange house, similar to kind of cannibalistic Texas Chainsaw Massacre fare, just on a Brazilian island. It is gory, it's quite extreme and sick at times, but again it has those exotic locations, it has a great cast in the movie and it's actually pretty well done. It is a sick kind of gory twisted movie for sure. It reminded me of movies like Wrong Turn with an exotic twist. Another one I would suggest is Midsommar. Now it's a movie I actually haven't seen yet myself, but it's kind of a movie that's almost like Marmite. Some people absolutely absolutely love this film and some people don't. From what I know, guys, if you like Hereditary or if you like The Witch, this would be one you want to check out. From looking at the trailers, you know, it does definitely remind me of movies like The Wicker Man. It is one that I definitely want to check out myself. I'll probably check it out either this weekend or next weekend, but surely before the summer ends. Next up is one, of course, that's on everyone's list for summer movies you need to watch, and that is Jaws. Jaws for me is one of the most definitive movies you can watch in the summer. When I watched as a kid, it completely freaked me out and scared me from going into the ocean for many, many years, and I think a whole generation or a couple of generations have that reaction. It's a great movie to watch. It's one of Steven Spielberg's best movies he's ever done. The practical effects for the most part do slightly hold up today, but at the same time it has a great plot and some really great characters. The whole build up to this movie and just how the three men go out and hunt this great white shark is absolutely phenomenally done. It's a great film. It has some great scares and some really sinister sequences with the shark. I love watching this movie. It is actually one that I will always throw on every summer. Similar to Halloween, I'll watch that every Halloween. With Jaws, I will definitely watch it every time summer comes round. It's a visceral and terrifying look at nature and things maybe that we do take for granted. You know, we normally have in these kind of horror movies serial killers or monsters or creatures. Jaws, you know, he is this great white shark and he's something that is in the real world. So I do think that kind of heightens the tension of the overall film. But just as well as that, how they show the shark in the film, how his presence is constantly on screen with an amazing score. Everything about this movie I absolutely love. Another great watch is Stephen King's It. Similar to Summer of '84, this kind of is a one centered around a group of kids who during this particular summer start getting killed off one by this creature that's known as Pennywise. I've always enjoyed Stephen King's novel as well as the miniseries, but the movie series does do it justice also. It is a great story with some really great characters, as well as that though Pennywise of course is the main star of the movie. The fact that he can turn into so many different creatures that you could be afraid of as a child just makes him a really interesting and terrifying villain. His need to feed on these children and destroy their lives, it is quite dark, but at the same time the movie is quite light-hearted with its comedy. There is a great mix of horror and comedy in this one. It's not full on bleak. It is more humorous than it is terrifying, but I enjoyed that with it. The second one, it is slightly darker, but for the most part it has the same feel, and they're a great kind of back-to-back movie that you could watch over the summer. And closing things out is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For some, they may not see this as a summer movie, but for me it is based in Texas with that dying heat and Leatherface hunting people down and taking their faces. Everything about this movie I love to watch in summertime. It is gory, it is disturbing, and it's shot incredibly well. There is just something very raw and realistic of how this movie is shot. Give it a watch, guys, if you have not seen it. If you find that you don't like it, I would also recommend checking out the remake of it. Leatherface and his family are definitely the most bizarre and deranged family we've ever seen on screen, but the film itself is so disturbing and raw that it does kind of stick with you. The film was shot on 16mm color reversal film, which just gives the entire film this kind of raw, realistic feel to it, and it's something that does kind of stay with you. There's something about this film that almost feels at times like a documentary. But it's a great one, guys, to watch in the summer. It's a great movie overall to watch any time of the year. I highly recommend it. Now, of course, guys, remember they are just my own horror movies that I like watching during summertime. If I've left any out, or if you watch different horror movies yourself, let me know down in the comments below. As always, guys, make sure you follow me on social media. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.